the prayers within the regular daily prayers, or that will that are recited on days that are potentially not joyous days. Okay, so you don't say Tachanun on any of our festivals. You don't say Tachanun on the day after a festival. You don't say Tachanun on the 15th of Av, which is also a festive day. Now, what does it mean you don't say Tachanun? It means that it's not a day that can be transformed into a day of sadness or fasting. Okay? So let's say there's a terrible decree, and the sages say, we should designate a day of fasting and introspection. You can pick a day, but you can't pick Tu B'Shvat. Okay? Just like you can't pick Shabbat. Just like you can't pick Rosh Hashanah. Okay? Now, also, a bride and a groom on the day of their wedding, since it's a personal Yom Kippur, they fast. But if you get married on Hanukkah, or if you get married on Tu B'Shvat, you cannot fast, because it's not a day that is permissible with this intensity of I don't want to say sadness, because Yom Kippur is not sadness, solemnity. It's a joyous day, exactly. It's a day designated for joyousness. Okay, so those are the halachic ramifications, or the halachic, but certainly, if it's such a big deal, if it finds its way into affecting us as human beings, when we're not trees, we're human beings, right? We know that there are 4 kingdoms in God's creation. There's the inanimate, that's the lowest, okay? Water, rock, okay? Then you have the plant kingdom, as we say in English, but in Hebrew we call it someach. Okay, it's the kingdom of the earth and everything that grows. Okay, then you have chai, which are animals, the animal kingdom, and then you have midaber, which is the human, which is what we speak. Exactly. So why would a midaber, who's 2 levels above, make such a big deal about Someach? So the answer is, like we mentioned before, in Deuteronomy it says, man is a tree in the field. Ki ha'adam eitz hasadeh. Man is a tree in the field. And it's not like man is like a tree in the field. Man is a tree in the field. This is what the Torah tells us. And therefore, there are many. Now, you could say, well, man, we could compare ourselves to a car. We could compare ourselves to a this, to a that. Yes, there are many parallels between many things. There are many analogies that we could take about a variety of things. But the reality is that you cannot, if the Torah tells you a man is a tree or human is a tree, this is something very, very significant. Okay, so this is, what is it about the tree that makes man like a tree? Okay? And here's, again, we could talk about this, like when I was thinking about what I would pick to talk about, I could tell you, if we sat here for 3 hours or 5 hours, we would touch many, 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 many things, and interesting things, and enlightening things. But you have to pick 1 or 2 things, and then we'll save the rest for next year. But so we'll take a look at what we're going to talk about. But one of the things that is very, very interesting about trees is, let me just bring another verse. Okay, here's another verse. This verse says, when you come into the land, and this, when you come into the land and you're conquering the land, right? Okay, meaning when the Jews come to the land of Israel with Joshua, okay? How do you know what to do about the trees? Okay, Because anything that's related to idol worship, you have to cut down. Okay? So the verse says like this: Im hagun hu, if the tree is good, tochal mimenu, eat from it. Ve'im lo, and if not, kirato, cut it down. In other words, if you come into the land and there's good fruit trees, use them. Don't cut them. Don't be, don't like the developers of many, places that come in, and then the first thing they do is they knock down all the trees before they even think about what they're gonna build. The trees are gone. Okay. So here it's saying if you come in and the tree looks like a good tree, use it. Eat from the tree. If it is, but if it's not hagun, which means what's a translation of hagun?
Decent.
Decent. Okay, thank you. That's a good word. I'm really happy you used that word. Im hagun hu. If it's decent, eat from it. If it's not, cut it down.
What if it doesn't have fruit?
Well, right now we're talking about the fruit trees. Okay, right now we're talking about the fruit trees. And by the way, man is like a tree in the field, and the main emphasis is on the fruit. And we're going to talk about that too. Okay? The main emphasis is we should be a tree, and it should be a fruit tree, and what that means. Okay? So there are a lot of things to talk about, and if I forget anything, you'll ask me, wait, you didn't say anything about that. Okay, so in case we go off somewhere. Okay, so here is the, so this is, now, let's backtrack here for a minute. We say, ki ha'adam etz hasadeh, man is a tree in the field. Adam, man. So the commentators say, what is a man? A man, and this is not to the exclusion of a woman, is a Torah scholar. What does it mean a man is a tree in the field? A Torah scholar is a tree in the field. So a man or a woman that studies Torah is a tree in the field. And in fact, there are many, many, many discussions, by the way, about, well, who qualifies? If you learn a little bit, if you learn, what does it mean a Torah scholar? But the bottom line is, and this is a big emphasis, the Rebbe really emphasizes, every Jew is a scholar. Every Jew is a man in the field. Every Jew can consider him or herself the man. The man, this Talmid Chacham, this Torah scholar. What does it say about the Torah scholar? If he is decent, eat from him. Learn from him. Grow, understand, take his seeds and plant in your garden. But if he is not hagun, chop him down. What does chopping down mean? Don't have anything to do with him. Don't learn from him. Don't follow him. What?
Don't kill him.
Don't kill him. No. Don't kill him. But here you see something very interesting. That for all the scholarship, for all the academic achievement, the bottom line is, im hagunhu, is he decent? Is he decent? Is he a mensch? Is he a mensch? If he's a mensch, eat from it. Learn from him or her. Follow them. Take from them and plant in your own gardens. But if not, cut it down. Doesn't mean kill them, like you say, but it means that's not you connect your connection in the teacher-student mode. Not for me. I don't want to have anything to do with that.
Who's the judge?
You're the judge.
Okay, so
You're the judge. Yes,
doesn't it say that you're supposed to learn from each person?
that is true. You're supposed to learn from each person. That's just, and that could be many ways. In other words, you learn from someone how organized they are. Okay, so that's whatever. I mean, it's neutral. It's a neutral learning. But to say, this is my icon, this is my teacher, this is the you know, no, this is not that. And because that's the role of a Torah scholar, and indeed that's each of us has this role to be that tree to which others look, and that's the idea. By the way, I'm just jumping out of the fruit. What does it mean to be a man? Man is like a tree in the field that has a fruit tree. To create fruits, to project to others, to give to others, to teach others. We all have that obligation. But the idea here is, and it's something very interesting, because in politics, people say, I don't care what he does at home. Or, people say, is he doing a good job in the Senate? If he's doing a good job in the Senate, we don't have to look at his personal life. So that may be true for the Senate, okay? That may be true for your banker, okay? That may be true for your lawyer, or but for your moral and ethical and Torah leadership, it has to be hagun. It has to be decent. What does that mean? It means that what's inside is what's outside. That his inside and his outside are congruent. And I'm saying his, but I mean hers too. Okay? That this Torah scholar is someone that don't look at what I do. I think it was Aristotle that, would say all these kinds of things, and then his student came to him and said, what are you doing? And he said, well, I'm being Aristotle, the private person, and when I teach you, I'm Aristotle, the philosopher and the teacher. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. Now, what does it mean to be that mensch? What does it mean to be decent? And here's the difference between a tree and an animal. An animal and a human can turn around to its mother and say, I hate you, or I'm rebelling against you, or I don't have to respect you. An animal can do that, and a human can do that. But what's unique about the tree is that the tree is always attached to its roots. A tree is always in touch with where it comes from. A tree can never turn around and say, goodbye, I want nothing to do with you. I don't have any respect for you. The tree is rooted and stuck and conscious. Right? A kangaroo can jump around all over. A dog, a puppy, anything, right? But a tree is always rooted, and it's interesting. The Pirkei Avot, the Ethics of Our Fathers, says, right, that what is the difference between that you should be a tree, or that I'll read it to you, but that a tree, a strong tree that has strong roots. In other words, it says there are trees that don't have strong roots, that look like they're small, weak trees. But if they have strong roots, all the wild winds cannot hurt it. But if a tree is huge and expansive, but if it has weak roots, one wind comes and knocks it over. Okay? So the responsibility of the tree is to hold on to its roots. And that's what makes the tree hagun. That's what makes the tree decent. That the tree always knows where it comes from. Now, it's different, for example, to a fish, okay? A fish, what's the story with the fish?
It can turn around in the water, but
It could turn around in the water, but it's always enveloped in the water, Okay? The tree is not enveloped in its roots. You pass by a tree, you don't even know what the roots, what's happening with the roots, right? You don't know how deep the roots are and how strong the roots are. You have no idea. So the tree kind of looks like it's on its own. You don't really know what it is, but the tree knows. Okay, the tree knows. With a fish, the fish is just stuck, basically, enveloped, right? So it's conscious. It's always cognizant. Yeah, I need the water, but it's not. It doesn't look independent. The tree looks independent, acts independent, but never veers or moves away from its roots. And that is the thing. So you say, Im Hagunhu, this big scholar, is he rooted or is she rooted in who where we come from as a Jew? Okay? I just want to find this it's just a beautiful thing, and we so take it for granted. Like, okay, anyway, I'm going to find it, and then I'm going to share with you something else. Okay, this is it. And in fact, this is actually saying exactly what we're saying. Here, I'm going to ask Carmela to read this. It starts here, Kol shechochmato. I mean, not Carmela.
Me?
Yeah, Nava.
Oh. Sorry.
Kol shechochmato. I think it's like the third or the fourth line.
כל שחוכמתו מרובה ממעשיו, למה הוא דומה? לאילן, שענפיו מרובים ושורשיו מועטים.
Okay, what does that mean?
It means that whoever his wisdom is more than his deeds, to what is he or she similar to or like? He is like a tree with very vast branches, but little roots.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, so in other words, if your knowledge exceeds your menschiness, and what is that menschiness? Remembering your roots. Okay? Not to be able to talk around and say, I don't want this Judaism anymore. Okay? I'm not interested in this. Okay? So if your knowledge exceeds your behavior, what do you compare to? A beautiful tree with nothing, no roots. And what's the next part?
והרוח באה ועוקרתו, והופכתו על פניו, שנאמר, והיה כערער בערבה, ולא יראה כי יבוא טוב.
Okay. No, wait, first translate, what did you say in that first part? What happens?
And the wind comes and
Uproots it.
And turns it upside down, like ar'ar. Ar'ar is a small bush in the Arava, which is a desert. So it turns it upside down.
In other words, this
like
huge tree gets overturned like a little
like
bush.
a small, exactly, and it will not. ולא יראה כי יבוא טוב, and will not see that good comes.
Right, it will not survive. It will not survive to see good. Okay, and then what's the other one?
The continuation.
The continuation.
ושכן חררים
Oh,
במדבר.
no, you don't have to translate that. Just go to the next thing. But,
That's the continuation.
no, so skip that, and then it says, aval. No? It's not there? Okay, so then maybe I...
אבל here, yes.
Okay.
אבל, but.
But, okay, now we're going to talk about a different kind of tree. Okay?
כל שמעשיו מרובים מחוכמתו, למה הוא דומה? לאילן, שענפיו מועטים ושורשיו מרובים.
Okay, so what does that mean?
But although he has many deeds, all his deeds are more than his wisdom. He's like what? He's like a tree that his branches are few, but his roots are vast.
Okay, and vafilu. Okay.
שאפילו כל הרוחות שבעולם, all the winds in the world, באות ונושבות בו, blow in it, אינן מזיזים אותו ממקומו. They don't move it from its place. שנאמר, והיה כעץ שתול על מים.
Okay, no, the main thing is to see the difference. That, thank you, that even when you have, so when you have a person, a scholar, whose knowledge, oh, such a big scholar, but what are you practically? Where are your midot? Where's your behavior? Where's your menschiness? Where's your action? Okay? That's, if it's not more than what you know, you're like a wimpy, rooted, you could be a big tree, you could make a very impressive impression, but you're not going to survive the strong winds. But even if you have a little bit of knowledge, but it's funny to say walk the walk because you're stuck in the roots, but if you walk the behavior walk, you walk the Menschy walk, you walk the Jewish walk, then you will survive all the winds. And what winds are a metaphor for all kinds of crazes. How long has the Jewish people survived all kinds of winds, all kinds of isms, all kinds of craziness, right? We've always survived. We've always come out. Why? Because of those strong roots. Now, interestingly, the week of Tu B'Shvat is very, very often the week in which we read the Torah portion of the receiving of the Torah. Again, this is not a coincidence. It tells us that week we focus on our relationship with these roots. Now here's another very interesting thing. The 12 months of the year, each one of them is related to a different one of the 12 tribes. Okay? And which month is the month of Shvat? The month of Shvat is Yosef. What does Yosef mean? What's Yosef's, like if we have to say, what is the message of Yosef? What is it? When Rachel named him, what did she name him? She said, I'm going to name him Yosef. Why? She said, Yosef Hashem li ben acher. I want God to give me another one. Okay? You know what that is? Yeah. When she had one baby, Rachel was the one, all the other Leah had 6 kids, and 6 boys and a girl. Everyone had their kids. She was barren. She was waiting and waiting and waiting. Finally, she has one baby. What does she name him? I want another one. Okay? What is the symbolism of that? The symbolism of that is that we always, it's creating more fruit. It's creating more fruit. What does it mean to create another Jew? What does it mean to create another Jew, another person? It means to inspire another Jew to be more like a tree. To inspire another Jew to give fruit. To inspire another Jew to be just like the first one. I want another one like this. Okay? So the whole idea of this is more fruit, more trees, more growth. Now here's something else very, very interesting. To be alive, in Hebrew we use the word for this kingdom is someach, basically which means growing. To be alive is to grow. Every single day, if we open our eyes that morning, it means the day is a day for growth. And of course, most importantly, as Jews, it means growing in our relationship with God, growing in our relationship as a Jew. So, as long as we are alive, in other words, sometimes you see this big tree, you know, you have your gardener come and say, oh, that tree, it's dead. What do you mean it's dead? There's a big tree. It's dead. Because he knows that there's no life in it, okay? But sometimes, even when it looks like there's no life, there's life. And there is growth, okay? So it's not always evident, it's not always visible, but it's our responsibility to always be on the growth track. Because to be like a tree means to always grow, okay? Any comments or questions?
If you're hiring a lawyer, do you have to find out about his home life and everything?
Okay, so that's your personal preference, you know?
Well, no, really. How do you go about that?
I don't know.
Either.
Google.
How about seeing his deeds? If they have histories.
Right. Look,
You
you know what?
Google them.
Right. So I'm
See
not,
what
you
he's
know,
done.
I don't know that this is the template for measuring, you know, mathematics is mathematics. If your accountant knows how to count, and he's a good accountant, so then, you know, he's a good accountant, or whatever, you know.
But you don't know if he's a scumbag at home.
Right, and it may not matter. It may not matter, but it certainly matters in the transition of tradition. It certainly matters as a Jew to be able to learn from someone who is inside and outside.
Ethical.
I would say not only ethical, but attached to the roots. Attached to the roots. Decent means, right, no, decent is an excellent,
Decent
says
decent is a very good word, but it also points to just the basic of who we are. In other words, it's the integrity of being true to yourself. If you're a tree, you have roots. If you're a human, you have roots. What are those roots? Don't turn around and close the door on them. That decency is referring to the decency of a tree. What does it mean? The tree is hagun. The tree is hagun. The tree is decent because it's attached to its roots. If it's not, if it's bad, it means it's not producing proper fruit. It's not, so then you gotta cut it down. But a Jew has to be attached to the roots. So while the scholarship part is very important, what you take from the scholarship and how you walk the talk is really the test of the metal of the tree. So it's not about being to know everything, you know. And interestingly enough, because we just said that we spoke about the fact that all the other holidays come at the 15th of the month, right? And what's the significance of Tu B'Shvat being at the 15th of the month? If I just told you that one of the supreme messages of Tu B'Shvat is that you have to constantly grow, okay? But it seems like a contradiction because it's coming at the 15th of the month, okay? And the moon is in its it doesn't get bigger than that. So what does it mean that Tu B'Shvat is all about growth? So we're told that Tu B'Shvat represents the infinite growth. Why? Because in earth, and I just learned this when I came to Nebraska, because I never touched soil before I moved here. And maybe that's an exaggeration, but really. You don't plant anything, and all of a sudden things are growing. What's growing? Weeds can grow. You know, I was talking to my neighbor, and they're like, "You want to cut that down? That's a mulberry bush." I'm thinking, mulberry bush, how nice. And they're like, "No, mulberry bush, it's not good. It's a terrible weed. You can never get. It takes over." Okay, what does that tell you? It tells you that in the soil there is infinite potential for growth. Even if you don't do anything, something will come up. Now, what does that mean with regard to the full moon? What happens is that if you truly are growing and you are authentic, when you get to that full place, you realize, oh my gosh, I got here, I don't even know anything. So you're ready to start again, right? How many of us, you know, it's like if you Google something, you know everything about the disease, right? Let's say, or if you Google, of course not. Of course not. But we learn a little bit, we think we know everything. But the true scholar, the true authentic person knows that when you learn so much and you get to the apex, you realize, I really have to start because I know nothing. And that's how it is in Torah study. Because Torah is the wisdom, the infinite wisdom of God. How could you ever finish it? Just likened to the infinity and the infinite potential of growth and development in soil. So the idea that it comes at the 15th of the month is even more. In other words, even when you get to the top, calm down. Calm down. You gotta start again. Because being at the top, you're never done. And so Tu B'Shvat should leave us, or coming into Tu B'Shvat as we move towards Tu B'Shvat, to think about all these things in a very aware way, and to think about how it is possible for us to incorporate some of these ideas into our lives, to grow more as Jews, to be in touch more with our roots, and to be more hagun, to be more decent, meaning a more decent representation of who we really are. There's so much more to say, but I guess I'm going to stop. And if anybody wants to comment or ask any other questions, then we can.
I'm diverging. There was a thing it wasn't YouTube, but there was a guy he'd been a shepherd in Israel, outside of Judea, for 40 years with his family. And so he was on there, and I was listening to him last night. He goes, "You're not anything unless you are with
growing
the soil."
With the soil? Interesting.
With the soil. And he goes, you could take classes, you could go to schools, you could do all that stuff, but you still could be connected, not with cement, not with other things, but with the soil, to God, for the land, the promise. So that was, I don't know about you, but it was still with the soil.
Right.
So, sorry about the diversion.
No,
That's good.
Can I continue to
Sure.
divert?
Sure.
It just caught my attention when you talked about Yosef, I didn't know that the month of Shvat belonged to Yosef. And since you were talking about decency, it came to my mind that in the story of Yosef and Yaakov, Yosef was the favorite son. And it's hard in a family when you have one child that is the favorite. I don't know if it's decent or not, but the fact that he was singled out, obviously because he was very smart, but nevertheless, he was different than his siblings. And the other thing is that he was a victim to indecency by his they did to him out of jealousy. So the decency,
In other words, it rubs you the wrong way. You're thinking it's not congruent.
it's not what?
It does. It's not. It doesn't fit. You're saying.
Um,
You're questioning it.
Yeah,
You're questioning it.
it
Okay.
feels as if the word decency
Doesn't fit.
around Joseph was not
Okay. Okay.
plenty.
Okay. 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 Does anybody have anything to say about that, or should I just?
Well, I mean, but you know, his father favored him. It wasn't his fault.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't his fault that he was a
The
favorite. I mean, how
indecency
can you
might be
control
of
that?
Yaakov,
Right.
not Yosef.
Right. I mean, his father favored him, and you cannot blame him. In fact, it says that he was one of the reasons that God favored him is because, an example was when the wife of
Potiphar.
came to him. He could very easily do the wrong things, but he was an anav. He said no.
Okay.
So you see, so that he had, unless he grew and he developed, but he had that quality as well.
Okay. So here's the thing I would like to say about Yosef, and it's not. There's not enough time to fully address this because, I mean, like we've touched upon it on our weekly classes during the parasha. But here's what I'd like to say. This is not a model for, oh, you see what happens if you favor one child over another? And I'll tell you why. All the stories that we read and we study in the Torah are taken apart and taken apart and taken apart. So when we're young, the bottom line is, what's the facts? Okay, Yaakov had 12 sons, and who are the players, and the brother, and he favored his father favored him, and he gave him something special, and then the brothers were jealous, and and then he ends up in Mitzrayim. Okay, that's the simple facts, and you always have to do that groundwork if you want to start taking things apart, just like we took apart some things today. Now, what happens with Yaakov and the brothers, his sons, is not a typical case of sibling rivalry. And here's the real story. Okay? The story was that Yaakov and Rachel were the intentioned, were the bashert for one another. Okay? Yosef was her eldest. Okay? So Yosef has the distinction of being the Bechor, the firstborn. Now, there were also other firstborns, and there was a plan. God had a plan, and as God reputedly
Always
does.
does.
Exactly. So what happened really is that there was a distortion of the understanding of the plan. That's really what happened. Because, for example, and I'm just giving you like small tidbits to explain this, but this really warrants a whole discussion. But let's just say this. We had Abraham. Abraham had two sons, Yitzchak, Ishmael. Ishmael, off. We're just going with Yitzchak. Right? That's the theme. Yitzchak has two sons, Yaakov and Esav. Esav, off. We're just going with Yaakov. From the lineage perspective. Okay? Now, we have Yaakov favoring Yosef in a way. Now, why was Yosef favoring Yaakov? So the simplistic way you could say, because he was the orphaned son of it, firstborn of his beloved wife. Okay, you could say that. But really, Yaakov saw that Yosef needed empowerment. That Yosef was going to have a role in the coming years that would be so difficult that he needed to empower him with strength. And in fact, I don't remember, I think I can remember this a little bit. When it says his father gave him ktonet pasim, the commentators say, what is pasim? Plishtim. I don't remember the next one. Yishmaelim, Midyanim. He was sold to this one, to that one, to that one, to that one. Oh, till he came down to Mitzrayim. So what does that mean? It means that when the father gave him this special gift, he's saying, I know you need encouragement, you need support, you need strength. You're going to have a tough road ahead of you. Okay? Now, why were the brothers up in arms? They thought, wait a minute, what's going on here? Our father is favoring him. This looks too much like what happened with Yitzchak and Yishmael. What happened with Yaakov and Esav. What's going on? And Yosef is having these dreams. I'm the king, you're bowing to me. They're like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Does this, because they knew, they were privy to the fact that there were going to be 12 tribes. And they're thinking, he's messing with this plan. He's messing with this plan. Okay? So, if you want to, on the simplistic level, the first time we teach the story, when kids are in kindergarten, we tell them the story in a way that they could relate. But when you get deeper into it, and when you start to pull it apart, you realize, and, by the way, you brought the story of Potiphar's wife. And here's the story. When Potiphar's wife, day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out, says, Yosef, come. And Yosef is, no, I can't. No, I can't. No, I can't. And then one day, he says to himself, I can't fight her anymore. I can't fight her anymore. It was a big day. It was a big party day. Pharaoh was celebrating his birthday. Everybody was out. And it was full of idolatry and all kinds of things that Yosef didn't want to have anything to do with. So he went home. She stayed home, pretending to be sick. And that's where she pulled him aside and she said, Yosef, now. And at that moment, the Torah gives us a word. Va-yi-ma-en. What does that mean?
And he said no.
And he refused. Exactly. Now that word, when you read it in the cantillation with the trop, it goes back and forth. Shalshelet. I don't know how to sing it, but it's back and forth. And okay, which denotes hesitation. Should I? Shouldn't I? Should I? Shouldn't I? And then the commentators say he remembered his father's face. His father's face was right before him. And he said, no. No. And then she grabbed his coat and he ran out, etc. Yaakov was investing in him and investing in him and investing in him. He knew this kid would need help. And by the way, he was 17 years old. He could have said, my brother sold me. They'll never find me. They'll never know where I am anyway. No one's going to know what I do if I... And he said, no, I can't. By the way, he was attached to his roots. He saw his father's face, and he said, nuh-uh, not me. No way. No way. Yosef is a perfect example of the decency, of staying attached, of holding on tight. Even in Egypt, even in the depravity of Egypt, he was authentic. He had integrity. He led like a mensch. And he, by the way, what are his sons' names? Menashe. What does Menashe mean? Ki nashani Elokim et Beit Avi. God is trying to make me forget. Right? Trying to make me forget. But I will not forget. I will not forget. So Yosef is the symbol of the tree that holds on tight. And thank you for asking that question.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies, you're welcome to stay, but
That's enough.
everything is over. You can take some more food, of course. You are very welcome.